My name's Peter Phillips. This is Macquarie Fields. This is where I was brought up. In Macquarie Fields, back in the day, we had nothing to do. We got into a lot of trouble, and so we had no one to look up to, no activities, no one to look after us, and this is how it was back in the day.
Macquarie Fields, 42 kilometres from central Sydney and a world away from the movers and shakers who build and shape Australia's largest city.
Yes, I grew up in Macquarie Fields since I was about 9 years old, and I'm 24 now. There wasn't much around here. There was a youth centre, a youth service, which didn't operate at the right hours. There was a lot of boredom. There was really nothing to do other than hang out with your mates and hang at Macca's or hang at the shops, or, you know, just antisocial behaviour.
If it was a Friday afternoon, we'd go get someone that was over 18 would help us go get a case or a case of beer or whatever, and we used to just sit at the rocks and just drink.
Home to around 13,000 residents, Macquarie Fields is a people-rich, services-poor suburb, like many on Sydney's fringes, bearing the burden of decades of government neglect. More troubling to Macquarie Fields are issues fuelled by a population where unemployment is double the national average. Incomes are below the poverty line, and nearly a third of residents live in single-parent families.
When we moved here, it was clear that there are a lot of needs unmet, not just with young people, but in the wider community. There was still a lot of need to go out of this area for support. We saw in the first few years, we saw a lot of services come in and quickly leave. So we could see why the consistency with services and genuine meeting the needs of people in Macquarie Fields were certainly identifying a lot of gaps that needed to be addressed.
On a hot February night in 2005, a toxic time bomb of tension exploded. The trigger, a police chase of a stolen vehicle, which ended in a crash in Macquarie Fields, resulting in the deaths of 2 teenage passengers. 4 nights of mayhem ensued, with hundreds of heavily armed police clashing with up to 300 angry residents, hurling rocks, bricks, bottles and petrol bombs. Problem was, when the police left Macquarie Fields, so did everyone else.
To say the overall consensus would be appreciation of a profile, of the yacht's profile being in here, because at a time when everyone should have gone out of their way to come in and strongly support, they actually left, and they went out and left us, pretty much abandoned us. The services that you would think were on the ground with our young people and our families, they went out, father came in. It's as simple as that.
Enough was enough. A group of local mothers took matters into their own hands, working up a petition which became an SOS to Father Chris Riley's Youth Off the Streets.
The greatest challenge to me when I came in, they said to me, people always come and go here. Are you going to be one of those?
We went around the actual area of Macquarie Fields. We jammed in my filthy cars full of McDonald's papers and people, and we took him around the area so he could have a look at what can be used and how it can be used in Macquarie Fields. It took about an hour. It broke a lot of barriers, that hour period, stuck in that car and looking at the suburb all around and meeting some people while we were at it.
We then listened to what had gone on in that community and felt the pain of that community that they had experienced after the deaths of those 2 young men. Macquarie Fields was our real first outreach, and what we certainly saw was there was no youth-friendly infrastructure, nowhere for kids to hang out except our old basketball court.
And that's what's a great thing about outreach, is that it reaches out to young people at their time, which is like night time. You don't see kids hanging around at 3 o'clock, at 4 o'clock. They normally hang out at 6, 7 o'clock at night and stuff like that. That's a good thing about outreach, that you get to see them and you get to be with them at that time of night.
I thought Youth Off the Streets could provide a solution because I think kids are pretty easy to engage. You just have to respect them, you have to spend time with them.
Outreach has done a lot in Macquarie Fields. It's given the kids something to do. Before Outreach, there was nothing for us to do. We get to play sport, get into activities. They invite us on outings to out of the area and show us more opportunities in life and give us a great happiness as well.
But there was still much to do. Father Riley inducted 3 young men from Macquarie Fields as trainee youth workers and arranged for each to travel to communities that experience hardship Australian kids could not even imagine.
I first got involved with Youth Off the Streets shortly after the riots. Father came in to Macquarie Fields and started up an outreach program here. Yeah, I was involved. I was coming helping out the manager at the time, and I was being like a positive role model to the younger guys that were down there. Father and the manager seen something in me at that point in time and asked me if you want to travel overseas with him on a service learning project that they had. That service learning project was to the Philippines. What I saw in the Philippines really, really like opened up my eyes, and just they have no juvenile justice. They got a 10-year-old, 12-year-old sitting in the cell with a murderer or molester, you know what I mean? I think that's the main factor in life that really shocked me and made me decide, listen, I've got to change my ways and I've got to, become a different person.
Being on service learning trips, especially over in Albania, and for me that's a great eye-opener. That's something that I really looked at and looked at all the pain and all the struggles that other people are going through, harder than myself when I was young. So that to me is a special lesson in my life.
Both Peter and Chris subsequently became full-time youth workers after completing their journeys of discovery. Journeys that demonstrate the reality of one of Father Riley's most passionate beliefs, education.
If we said 10 times 500 is 5,000, so 9 times 500 should be about 4,500.
Eden College was developed to provide an opportunity for young people who'd been previously disengaged or becoming disconnected from education. We hope that we provide an opportunity for young people to develop purpose and for them to make the link between education and learning and how that's going to work for them in the future.
As positive as the work in the community had been, for many who had seen good intentions come and go, Youth Off the Streets took a while to gain traction.
It was very difficult because a lot of that comes from a charity-based kind of expectations. We didn't feel like we needed charity. It was also very humbling because the work that was put into providing what they did for our young people here, and ultimately it supported our families too.
As Macquarie Fields has a high proportion of single-parent families, another key role being undertaken by Youth Off the Streets is the provision of a safe haven for these mainly young mums to gather, to share their life concerns, and to access professional advice and support for their everyday needs and those of their children.
I'm 24 years old and I have 2 children. Drayton is 2 years old and Shane's 10 months old. I've been coming to Young Mums Group for about 9 months now. I've got a mums group, Youth Off the Streets, which is a very big program, and very pleased to be with this program due to a lot of, life problems, this and that. So I have a lot of support and connect with a lot of young mums, and I feel free to talk about things. And it has been a very big journey, and thanks to Mums Group I now have the YPC phone, which keeps me connected to my family in South Australia, Centrelink, doctors here, medicals, all sorts of things, dentists. It's helpful. Also I'm on the road of going back to work, so I'm doing my resume and this and that, putting it here and there, see what happens.
It became an integral part of our community because of the willingness of the young people to work with them, and also what they provided. And whatever they provided the young people, it also incorporated the families. And whether the families are up the front or behind the scenes, it's very clear what their agenda was. And it was basically one of help, one of support, and to benefit the lives of these young people. So, you can't fault that stuff.
The Centre for Youth was funded jointly by the Australian and New South Wales governments under the Jobs Fund Get Communities Working program. With finances secured and development approval forthcoming from Campbelltown City Council in October 2010, the centre became a reality little more than 12 months after the first sod was turned.
So we're also very clear of our gratitude to Father for having stuck in the fight for us, because I was just about to give up when he rang and said, "We got it." That kind of stuff. You can't buy that kind of stuff.
You can only do so much with a barbecue and a football. So we really believed then that we needed to create something which would be substantial. My dream is that 200 kids can be active in this centre.
The centre is more than just the bricks and mortar that you see. It's about an environment and having an atmosphere where young people will really enjoy themselves and know that they're cared for, and I don't think you can replace that.
The centre will change the outreach program because it will provide more opportunities for the young people. Different avenues, and there's a base there, so there's something that they can look at, something that they can go to. It's a very friendly environment.
I think young people in this area need the youth centre because it's a sign that we care about them, and it's a great investment into the lives of young people. Young people can come to this centre to just have a positive experience, firstly, to be safe, and then it'll be an opportunity to engage them into other activities and build relationships with other positive people.
The centre was named after the well-known television personality David Koch and wife Libby, who have been long-time supporters of Youth Off the Streets.
When this first happened, the riots back in 2005, Koch was out here regularly meeting the trainees, spending time with them, and he got quite close to them. So I thought that name in this suburb would resonate very, very clearly because of that early connection.
A significant contributor has been Sydney's Eden Gardens Centre, which has facilitated the creation of a tranquil, landscaped area at the centre.
Community greening is an initiative between the Botanic Gardens Trust and the Department of Housing New South Wales. They got together about 9 years ago and decided that they wanted to take gardens into areas of disadvantage and to social housing areas. So it's people, I think, through horticulture, breaks down a lot of barriers. It's about growing plants and it's about caring.
Yet another key outreach program encompasses Aboriginal services.
We have 3 Aboriginal staff employed at the Macquarie Fields Youth Centre, where the local community can access those workers, but also it's an opportunity for the workers to build a relationship and rapport with the young people within the area.
The facilities in the new centre are going to be such a big improvement of what we've had in the past few years. When we first started at Eden College, we had a whiteboard in a big hall and a couple of old desks and chairs. So now to have state-of-the-art facilities, classrooms where the kids can really feel at home and have that ownership and put their work up and see how they've achieved is going to be fantastic.
It is fantastic to be here. It's fantastic to see an example of what partnership can deliver. And for a bloke who 20 years ago started out with a van that was providing food to homeless youth, who now runs an extensive network through Youth Off the Streets, who came out here during that public disturbance and not only assisted in trying to put a community back together, but saw a long-term vision, a vision that included the facility and the services that we're seeing here today. It is extraordinary.
This building will get its magic, its heart, from the people who serve in it and also from the community it serves. This building is here to provide a shelter, a safe haven for that care and love for youth that we all have.
It took a police car chase resulting in the needless loss of 2 teenage lives before anyone took any notice of Macquarie Fields. But the legacy, now open for business, is a centre for hope, a living, breathing community resource solidly housed in bricks and mortar for the benefit of the Macquarie Fields community for years to come. A community who embraced the goodwill of those willing to lend a hand and whose energy was captured and given meaning by Father Chris Riley's Youth Off the Streets.
Such an honour that Father has committed to this community. Fight for adequate youth services and for an adequate youth centre has been about 20 years. So this is not just a 6-year battle, but we acknowledge that Father made this possible.
This is our statement to Australia, that in every town that's troubled or every suburb that has trouble, they need centres like this, and you'll see the crime rate diminish significantly with this input.
So while it's a celebration, we are very clear that it came at a high price.